So many people know in a pacemaker that's implanted in your chest, so that this implantable device, by giving tiny electric shock, can make the heart beat more regularly. So that's a good example. There are today some devices even for the brain where you can implant a stimulator in the brain to treat Parkinson's disease. So now in our case, anyone who has lost a limb function because of nerve injury, we need an implantable device to restore the function of their arm or the hand. By the way, it's really important for Asia, because in Asia, with a lot of population, people riding bicycles, motorcycles, run into accident, industrial accident, and not necessarily, they don't necessarily lose the limb, but their nerves, the wiring that controls the function of the hand and the limb is lost. So they need that wiring, the electricity back. And so our goal is to build that implantable device that will help restore the function of the arm or the hand. Our goal at the end of the 5 years is to build a fully implantable system, demonstrate all the technology, create some intellectual property, feasibility, and some preliminary experimental demonstration. But today, it takes a lot of work to take a medical device to the patient because of regulatory constraints and also ethical constraints. We want to make it sure that this is all safe and effective for patients. So our clinicians and surgeons will get it when we prove all this. I want to kind of generally give a message that yes, there is a scientific fantasy such as cyborg and brain machine, some of brain and mind control and all that. And I think that's sort of wrong way to look at it. I think the right way to look at it is that we have so much need for improving our human health. And we should see this technology as helping improve our lives, our health, so that people with disability will do better and people with age can perform physically or cognitively for longer and better. And that these technology, whether it's implantable electronics or robotic prosthetic limbs, are extension and assisting us in our ability to do better and live richer lives. And I think that will allow people to absorb and accept the technology, just like now we have accepted computers and cell phone. Some time ago, people thought computer will take over my job. Now you just take for granted. And today, we should similarly think about these technologies of prosthesis and brain-machine interface as a way to make our lives better, particularly of people who are disabled and people who have health and aging as a limitation. And I think that way, we will all live better lives.
Robotics does a lot of things where patients may not even know. So for example, the robot can actually track performance in terms of the accuracy of movements, the smoothness of movements, the speed of movements, the type of movements, and the number of movements. And on top of that, most of the robotic technologies are paired with what we call virtual reality platforms, whereby patients can be playing games, they can be looking at targets, and after a while the drudgery or the boredom of therapy is actually reduced, and the patients actually develop motivated performance actually on the robot. It would be my dream to actually see that robotics could be considered as a standard therapy. And if that could be so, then it would be really, really accessible to a wide variety of patients who would need it. And that it could be applied to clients along the whole continuum of care, from the acute hospital all the way to actually the outpatient clinic. And who knows, maybe even a robotic bus that could go around to deliver robotic aided therapy to clients who are actually living in HDB blocks, where they could come down, hop on a bus, get their robotic aided therapy, and then leave for the next activity that is planned for them.
Interesting enough, tissue engineering was really born out from surgical need, that surgeons in the operating theatre are always frustrated by the lack of materials to carry out the procedures. For example, in the burr hole example that I mentioned, it's not that they don't want to close the gap off, it's that they just don't have adequate material to cover it up with. The current method or the current gold standard is to use autografts. Patients get, or rather surgeons get harvest bone from other portions of, from other bones within from the patient. So they typically tap into the iliac crest, for example, to get bone chips. These bone chips are then shaped and fashioned and then used to pack the defect sites. In many cases, this fails. In many cases, these autografts fail, leaving two holes now: a hole in the iliac crest and a hole in the defect site. In a very similar context, when we look at bladder reconstructions, when we look at vascular reconstructions, it's always a lack of tissue. What we hope to do is to have engineered tissue, which is really available off the shelf, that the surgeon is really able to just reach out and just get the material that he needs to do the reconstruction that he wants to.
Four decades ago, that's when joint replacement was first accepted and accepted. The very first total knee replacement surgery is done by eyeballing. I think this is about perfect. I just cut. In the best of hands, a surgeon that does nothing but joint replacement, they only accurate 70 to 80% of the time. With event of computer-aided technologies in that sense, now it gives doctors reliable real-time input to correct their problems. With that, now I can bring my accuracy up to 95%. We try to eliminate the last step by using robotics. So in robotic technology, the arm is fixed. It's a fixed force and it can apply that force very accurately. So the accuracy now comes to 99% or even 100%. So that's why the next step is probably accompanying computer-aided with robotic technology in that sense. So the expectation for recovery rehab, usually on the first day they come for surgery, by the next day, 90% of them will be able to start walking using a walking frame or some form of walking aid. By the fourth or fifth day, 90% will be discharged from hospital. Within a month, they can be out to the kopitiam using a walking cane to walk around. And in 3 months, most of them recover.